Once we got done shooting Finding Home, I took about a week off, I think, and then I started going through the footage. Maybe it was 2 weeks. It was either 1 or 2 weeks off. I started going through the footage. I knew that I wanted to do the assembly edit because I wanted to make sure that we used the best performances rather than necessarily the best technical shots because I knew that this movie it's so reliant on the connection with the characters that if you've got the best performances, it'll really go a long way.
The assembly edit was good. It was what it was. It was a rough cut. What my specialty is and what I bring to the table is really bringing a finesse and a timing and a pacing and kind of smoothing out everything that he has as a vision and really bringing it to life cinematically.
There are certain scenes, certain shots that I wanted held that would seem like it was held too long, but the performances were such that I wanted to make sure that it stayed in. And so I made sure that I was there for that, just to make sure that something didn't get cut where I didn't want it to get cut.
He definitely has a vision. And like any good director, they should have a vision and they should stick to it. And if you challenge that vision, I think it's in his right to say, no, I want it this way. I want it done my way. But at the same point, he's very good at taking other ideas and incorporating those into the final product and saying, okay, this is a collaboration as a film should be.
As the movie progressed after everything was in the can, and everyone's opinion mattered. And as opinions were put out there, the movie started developing into something that was much greater than it was before. And it reminded me a lot of when we were shooting.
We all worked on this together, I feel like. It wasn't just a Char's auteur sort of, film. It was, let's have group meetings and say, this looks good, this sucks, this doesn't work, or, this is great. And I actually enjoyed that part of it. It was very exciting to be a part of not only the post-production as far as the cutting and the fine-tuning of the film, but the music, the pre-production, the script writing, everything.
Anything in post-production we did. We all had meetings. We all kept talking about it. What's good about this? What's bad about this? And it took on a life of its own, and the talent of the people that were involved in it used everyone's opinions and used everyone that was above the line. We all had our opinions of what we thought about stuff, and they melded into something that was much greater than any one of us could have ever done.
The more people that you have with a diverse background, especially but still have a background in film, it adds so much to the dynamic of how they see and the points that they bring up. And then, as a director, you try to take all of everyone's input and bring it and mold it into the best film that you can get.
On Finding Home, the first thing that I noticed was that it's such a beautifully shot movie. When I saw how beautiful the scenery was, I realized that the music has to convey that. The music has to be a character. It almost has to play the part of the scenery. At first, the music is very, very soft, very gentle, but as the situation for the characters becomes more dire, the music becomes darker. Suddenly, this beautiful place where they were spending some time has become almost a prison for them, and so I wanted the music to be a little bit more. Convey a sense of dread.
When Chris and I really got to talking, I thought that it would just be, mainly piano. I knew that he had the piano background, the classical music background. But then the more that we got into it, the more that, I was listening to music, he was listening to music, and we talked it over, and we liked it to have a strong piano influence, but we wanted to use a full orchestra. We wanted it to sound like a multi-million-dollar movie.
The cool thing about doing this project was that I knew ahead of time that I was going to be involved in post-production doing the sound design. So that is a very useful tool going into a production, knowing that you're going to be in charge of everything altogether. So you can really look ahead and get ideas while you're rolling and on set, and that can affect the way that you make the film and shoot the film.
Working with Tom was phenomenal. Nowadays, you know, you don't have to do all of this stuff while working in the same room. It pretty much amounts to just sending a lot of tracks back and forth. But Tom has a very, very distinct sense of his job, and he knows exactly what the right sound is, where the right sound is.
When we met to kind of talk about what we wanted with Chris Schutte, our composer, and Tom, one thing that he brought up that really I knew that we were in good hands and that I made the right choice is that he had different keys for the music that he thinks would, and Chris, you know, obviously I already knew that in ahead of time, but the fact that he was thinking about that, using wind and using wildlife, as the film progresses, you get away from wildlife and move towards wind to establish just how alone they are.
One thing that was kind of a drawback for me in post-production was how much wind we got in a couple of scenes. Granted, this was something that I was planning on utilizing for for the sound design process. There's a scene or two that is a little overwhelming in terms of the wind noise.
Once we have the edit done, we have the sound design pretty much finished. We started in on the color correction.
Charles also gave me the opportunity to come on board as colorist and do some of the finishing on the film. So the titles, the credits, and the entire color grade of the film was about 2 months of work for us, sitting in the studio on a DaVinci system, going through every shot of the movie dozens of times and making sure it was color balanced and saturated the way we wanted it, in high contrast and full of continuity, and we gave many shots more depth and more color.
With the technology today and the affordability of it and the ease of getting equipment and the big changes that you can make in a single frame of footage is amazing. Before my own eyes, I was watching footage of Finding Home, you know, fluctuate from deep greens to bright yellows and more fall colors.
It was an amazing experience to be able to color correct my own shots and bring them to life and make them pop. And I don't know about everybody else involved, but at least I feel like we enhanced the film so much in that process.
You know, a lot of people try to do films these days, especially since we have, you know, so much access to digital SLRs and other high quality cameras. Anybody thinks they can make a movie. Well, there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more filmmaking technique behind it to make it look so good, and this really shows through in this film. I think the filmmaking quality and the production quality shines in this film, and I'm pretty proud to be a part of it.
As far as this movie and putting together this movie, it is everything that I had hoped when I had the idea. I'm very proud of it. I think that our actors, Brian and Lindsay, are very genuine, and this really turned out. I couldn't have anticipated that everything would go the way that it did, and we would be able to get the movie just as it is, which is, it lived up to every expectation I had. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of everyone who's worked on it, and I think we have a good team, and we're excited to make more movies together. It definitely is a learning process trying to get your film out, to get it seen, especially when you don't have a studio behind it. And I'm learning every day, and I learn more and more, and we'll be all the wiser for our next film.